I'm standing there smoking a bone, and all of a sudden a dude comes up and is just free, and he's laying it down. He sits next to me. I'm standing on stairs like this, and I'm paralyzed. And he sits next to me and keeps on rapping. Up comes the camera person and the lighting person and a producer behind him, and they're shooting. And then they pan across, and he goes this way and he goes over here for a while, and then they go back and they go that way. And I said, excuse me, I wasn't in the way on that, was I, or anything? And they're like, no, you're fine. So I'm in a video somewhere.
I am over the moon. I am just, words are hard. So have me stop talking about it and just bring on our incredible guest. Welcome, Greg Proops.
Hi, kid. Hi, Miss D. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Real well, thanks. Yeah.
You look very
It's
dapper.
boiling hot here. Thank you very much. I put a square in and a little tie on and whatnot. I like to look nice because I'm old. And if I wore a backward baseball cap, you'd be so grossed out.
You think so?
Yeah. At my age, yes.
Oh, please. I'm stop.
Well, we actually do want to start on a sort of serious note and actually just thank you for being such a strong supporter of feminism and getting vaccinated. So those two things very close to both of our hearts. So thank you for being one of the loud voices and being cool about that.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate it. Being a feminist is very important to me and my wife, and getting vaccinated there's nothing more important you can do right now for the public health and for the public good. And, when people say they're hesitant or they don't know or they're not sure what the ingredients are or whatever, I'd like them to think about the people who simply can't get vaccinated because of their physical condition. There are people who literally, and I have friends who, because of their medical condition, they can't get a vaccination. So think about them, or think about little children who aren't available to get them. They're exposed to it too. And now we know with the new variant, it's a very dangerous situation. So it's kind of more of an empathy thing than a selfish thing. You have to think about other people a little bit and not so much about the crazy stuff you're told over and over again by, ugly, icky people on the internet.
They're everywhere, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh, honey. Yeah.
But
it's such a drag.
One of the other things too, kind of like to piggyback off what you're saying, is sometimes it's too late to get the vaccine. You get to a point where unfortunately you've already been infected and then you're asking for the vaccine. And at that point it's too little too late. So get vaccinated.
Exactly.
People. The time is now.
So it just ever so briefly, and to piggyback off what you just said, when I was little and when you were little, we had to get vaccinations for polio, tetanus, diphtheria, all these things. The reason why nobody, and this is to our anti-vaxxer friends, the reason why nobody has polio anymore and it has to spend their childhood in an iron lung is because we vaccinated everyone. It's really that simple. President Roosevelt, who was president during World War II and the Depression, suffered terribly from polio and had to be in a wheelchair his whole adult life. So I'd like to just hit people to there's actual facts. Vaccinations, not only do they work, they're a miracle. George Washington vaccinated.
I have a smallpox vaccine scar.
Me too.
My husband does not, because by the time he was born, it had been eradicated. So there was technically no need for it. So you're welcome.
Right? Exactly. George Washington at Valley Forge in that terrible winter of 1776 had all of, or rather a little bit after that, had all the troops vaccinated for smallpox, because that was the very first vaccination that was effective. Wow, and he was afraid the Continental Army would perish in the field of smallpox, which is a terrible thing to perish of. And so the very first father of our country, whatever you want to call him, was aware that vaccinations work and that they protect the population.
Wow.
Who knew?
And if anything, like, my piece of advice is do it for the donut. If you get vaccinated, you can go to Krispy Kreme, get a donut, do it for.
That's it.
Oh, so did you get yours, Danica?
Hello, can't eat them. Thanks, though.
You came donuts. Yeah.
I'd pretty much do anything for a donut. In California, they were giving away money. They had a lottery, like they gave away millions. Governor Newsom had an event at Universal Studios with the Minions and everything. It was pretty wild. It's like a game show here, you know.
I love it. And someone asked, "You guys get donuts?" Yes, we do, Herb. We get donuts, and they are delicious. So both times you get vaccinated, and if they give me the booster, I'm gonna go get another donut. You know, like I'm about that donut life. Anyway, I'm glad that like we're able to talk about this so freely. And once again, like Danica said already, we really appreciate you being so open and honest about it.
Of course.
All right.
All right.
we're gonna pivot a little bit here, Greg. We're gonna pivot just a little bit. So here we go. Ready?
Okay.
If points did matter, how many do you think you actually accumulated, and what could you buy with them?
Oh, I think I have hundreds of thousands of points because I've been on the show since 1989 when I was 7 years old. And that's a joke. And what I'd probably buy probably cake for everyone.
Cake?
I love that.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people like pie better, but I don't think there's any. I mean, you know, German chocolate cake. What is it doing wrong? I think it's still striding the earth like a colossus.
I love cake.
Right?
Yay for cake.
I was gonna say,
I'll take it all.
Rocky Horror, because you have that Boss Rocky Horror poster in your room, and I would take him to see it. I have met in my lifetime. I have met Tim Curry and Richard O'Brien, and they were both unbelievably cool.
So you meeting Richard is a big deal because he doesn't do a lot of stuff with Rocky Horror. He's kind of
he's off that now. He's transitioning, or it might have been completely transitioned. This was years ago. I was at Caroline's Comedy Club in New York in Times Square, and I finished my show, and I was in my dressing room, and a cat bowls up with his daughter, right? And he was wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap, but he was bald, and it was Richard O'Brien with his daughter. And there was a goth girl there, and she went, "Oh my God," because she saw who it was. And of course he was like, "Hello, Greg. We really enjoyed the show." And years ago, before that, I had met him in Edinburgh at the festival. My wife and I were at this bar drinking, and he was next to us, and he bought us a drink. And he was wearing at that juncture, this was the 90s, devil hooves and devil horns, because his show, like, he was doing this devil thing. So he was wearing the costume from the show. So he's actually dressed as the devil when we drank with him, which was super awesome, beyond measure. He's a very, also, we've been to Hamilton, New Zealand years ago on tour, and Hamilton, New Zealand is where he's from. And the theater where he wrote, and the late night double feature fiction show, I wanna go. It's torn down. But there's a plaque up where it was, and it said, Richard O'Brien worked here, and this is where he got the idea. And there's a giant statue of him, this one, from the end. Your lifestyle's too extreme. I'm your new commander. You know I'm a prisoner. That statue. It's in that outfit. Yeah. We return to Transylvania. Prepare the chance and peace.
With whatever hairstyle that was. Yes.
The weird top knot.
Pony.
Is that what it was?
My wife and I went there in the middle of the day in Hamilton just to see, because there's nothing in Hamilton, I assure you, in Hamilton, New Zealand, except for this statue of Richard O'Brien, which is awesome.
And super worth it. Yeah, Danica and I have been really blessed to do panels for pretty much everyone, you know, from Rocky Horror, from Barry Bostwick, who played Brad Majors, and Nell Campbell, Columbia, and Patricia Quinn, who is just a delight. You never know what you're going to get with
lipstick.
Oh yeah, and Meatloaf. So I got to actually do one for Meatloaf as well, which was just such an honor. I mean,
so cool.
Like that. It's literally Danica and my favorite movie. We watched it way too young. Oh yeah. We watched it.
I've seen it 1,000 times.
Oh yeah. We'll have to go to one of the live shows. Have you ever been throw the stuff at? Oh, the best.
Oh, the first one I went to in 1976, I was a teenager and we drove up to San Francisco. I'm from the peninsula, south of San Francisco. And people were smoking weed in the theater and they were dancing to Lady Marmalade. And there was this guy wearing what appeared to be a DNA molecule on his head. And it was a super freak show gay, like late, it was midnight. And like I said, people were getting high in the theater. And I remember thinking this movie was like 5 hours long. And I'd never been to it. So I didn't know that everybody had squirt guns and newspapers. This was the very beginning of it. So it's just, it's great. I've never met Barry, but he's from San Mateo. And Patricia Quinn, I'd love to meet. And Nell, I've never met, but she used to own a nightclub in New York in the 80s called Nell's. And I remember going there with my wife on open mic night. I don't think we met her. But Tim Curry I met, and he came to a picture show that I still do a film club with my wife. And she picks all the movies, and he came to that a few times to see Laura, that fabulous film with Gene Tierney, and I can't remember the other one he came to. And he likes to smoke and drink. It's fantastic. Yeah,
man, it's
really funny.
I love all of them so much.
I got to have a virtual chat with him like in this past year because of everything that's going on with the world, and he seems to be doing better. He did suffer a stroke a few years back, but he seems to be doing better. He's doing autograph signings and like virtual meet and greets. And it's just and he does conventions still. So it's really awesome. That?
And he did the version with Laverne Cox. He
was the criminologist. Yes, he was.
The one with Victoria. And he was great in that. And then I don't know if you saw the benefit they did last year before the election for the Wisconsin Dems, where they did the whole show. And he was great. It was Barry and everybody. He was so great in that.
It really
is so happy.
I know. Danica and I were live texting. It was amazing. And Jude actually says he wants to see you as Professor Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Scott. I think that could be.
From the day he was born, all he wanted was rock and roll on a motorbike, shooting up a junk. Yeah,
he was a low-down, cheap little punk.
Taking everyone for a ride.
When Eddie said, what's for dinner? It's meatloaf. Okay, well, awesome. I mean, welcome to our recreation of Rocky Horror Picture Show live. We don't actually have the rights.
No, we're going to get sued senseless for this.
Absolutely. Great.
Anyway, sure. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Danica.
But it's Richard who's suing us, so, maybe he won't.
Right.
Yeah, you know him.
Right? They asked me to do it in the night. I lived in London in the 90s, and I was asked to do a touring company of Australia and play Brad because I was younger then. And I didn't do it, but I've often thought about how weird it would have been to do a touring company of Rocky Horror in Australia in the 90s when things were crazy. I know, right? It's one of I don't regret it, but I kind of wished I did it just for the experience of. I was quite busy at the time, so I couldn't do it. But you have to be down. I would have had to diet furiously because you're in your underwear through the whole bloody show, and
it's amazing. There's this like Barry Bostwick, like if you meet him, he literally sells his underwear like at conventions and shows. Like he's buying them and everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
You can buy Brad Major's whitey tighties. It's amazing.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. And you must be very proud of him.
Very proud.
Do you have any tattoos? Certainly not.
Actually, I know that's a line from it, but I do have a Rocky Horror Picture Show tattoo, so I'm going to try to show it. Oh my God, wait, how do I do this?
Oh God, where is it?
Big stretch. There you go.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
Sorry.
Michael Daniel was there today, the earth stood still. Yeah.
And he told us that on our feet. Okay.
We could literally do this all night. This is great.
Yes.
And scene. So we're going to pivot again. So, of course, everybody, I think, and especially anybody who's had any experience with improv and theater and things like that, knows the rule of don't negate. It's yes and, always be saying yes. So, but would you say there are any other steadfast rules or maybe not so steadfast rules or things that people tend to abide by?
Well, my friend Jim Sweeney, who is a great improviser and is in the Comedy Store Players in London, he used to be, often said, and he's one of the funniest improvisers I've ever seen, you must learn the rules in order that you can break them. In other words, you can't just go in there flying blind and act like you know everything. You do need to actually learn how to improvise, which means most of all, learning how to listen. And then once you learn how to listen, if someone says, hey, we're all getting on the ship, at that point you can go, no, I have a better idea. I have a dirigible waiting, right? And then you're adding, but without blocking and all that jazz. So, but it takes a while to get to that confidence level, 1, and 2, you have to be funny and trust your instincts. And my advice always is say the first thing that comes into your head. It's almost always right. Don't get too crazy on editing yourself because, I mean, having said that, I never do this on stage. I'm always trying to think of the next joke. You know, like my style is joke, 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 smart remark, and then I laugh at what the other people are doing. I totally break the fourth wall all the time. So
I love that.
But then I work with funny people. So I'm in a group with Ryan Stiles, and every night when we play, he's hilarious. And so I'll just start laughing, you know.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Well, what would you say is like the biggest misconception about like being a comedian or being in an improv troupe?
I think the biggest misconception is that we don't work that hard, or that. Oh yeah, go ahead. Did you get some from that? Sorry, life's going on here.
It's okay.
Life's going on here in Los Angeles. There's if there's helicopters and noises and leaf blowers, this is LA in the daytime.
Go for it.
And yeah, we got. In any case, what was your question? It was what's the biggest misconception?
Yep.
We travel all day, so. Not now, but we will be going back on the road in October with Who's Live Anyway, with me and Ryan, Joel Murray, who's Bill Murray's little brother. Yeah. And right, he's wonderful. He's on Mad Men, he's on Shameless, whatnot. Darman Greg, and then Jeff Davis, our fourth, and then Bob Durketch, our musical director. And so like say we'll get up at 5 a.m. or 4:50, then we'll get on. Oh, thank you for putting that up. whoslive.com. We'll get, there's us leaping in the air. By the way, that picture was my idea, and it's not doctored. No, it was, we were doing a photo shoot, and the only thing we had planned was Morgan, our tour manager, his wife did our makeup and everything, Jen, and we all came in dressed in our suits and ties, which I thought we want to look nice, you know, like the Beatles or whatever, or the Dave Clark 5, you know. And which is a reference I don't even know if you get, but it's the 60s groups that used to, you know,
groovy.
Freddie and the Dreamers, right?
Hey, we've had Hermits on here, so
that's right. You've had Peter Noon.
Peter Noon. Yeah,
right. Absolutely. The Hermits, man. The Hermits. This still swings both ways. It goes back and forth. And Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter. So. Right? Don't let on that. So we showed up and we did the thing, and we did all the usual poses, right? We did the one where, you know, you're standing backwards, you're scowling, you're on the couch, you're on top of each other. We did a Beach Boys one with Dave Foley where we held him like a surfboard. We did all that. And then at the end, I said, let's do Hard Day's Night, Catch Us If You Can by Dave Clark 5. You know that. Everything's running, jumping. And this is where Ryan is a genius. We all jumped in the air. And Ryan goes, and this is Ryan.
It's funnier if I don't jump.
Right? So he stood just like you see him dead in his pockets. And that's an actual shot. We all got around him and leapt in the air a bunch of times. And the photographer took the pictures. It's really not shopped very much. I mean, maybe they fudged some stuff here and there because it's a photo, you know, picture, but the actual, it looks like we're way in the air, but what I said to the guys before we jump was get your feet behind your knees, and it'll look like you're 10 feet in the air, because where Ryan's standing, we're on a piece of photographer's paper, you know, that goes all the way back. So like a little green screen or whatever. And that was it. So I thought it was successful because we've been using it for a couple of years now, and everybody always prints it because it's active, and photo editors in all publications and online love jumping up and down. They hate this one, you know.
We're
but they
so
love
serious.
this. They love this one. Like if he can make it goofy, because they feel like comedians should be goofy, and so that one was really a moment of inspiration for all of us. And I really think that Ryan was right. If he had jumped 2, it wouldn't be funny. What's so funny is that he's so tall that even though I'm jumping 2 feet in the air, I'm not as tall as him.
Jeff Davis looks like he is just like 16 feet in the air. I mean,
he's 6'6", close to 6'7".
Jesus.
And Jeff is 6'4", and Joel is 6'1". I'm the shortest one. I'm like 6 feet tall.
Shorty.
I'm the shrimpkin. Yeah, right. Shrimpkin. So the misconception is, I think that we don't we put in a whole day because like we'll get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, get on a plane, fly to Florida, whatever, Texas, whatever we're going, Ohio. Then we get in a cab or whatever from there, or a bus. And then we go to the hotel, and then we check in, and then we have an hour to ourselves. Then we go to the theater and eat dinner and do a sound check, do the show, then get up the next morning and go to the next place. So that it's the whole day is not, we work for an hour and a half, which is awesome. Sometimes an hour and 45 if we do more encores. But we actually are working all day because we're always going. So I think people don't understand, like, because they'll go like, hey, how do you like our town? And you're like,
where am I? Yeah.
If we're lucky, and sometimes we are, we'll have a night off, or we'll have a day where we get in early, and then we'll go visit like the art museum or the local sites or whatever, or try to go get Chinese food or something. We'll have field trips.
Nice.
So,
well, I was going to say,
that.
I know you're coming to Miami or the Fort Lauderdale area in December.
Oh,
so if you need some recommendations for places to avoid, I can help you out with that.
And my mother is very excited to see you in Tucson.
Oh yeah, Tucson. We love Tucson. Yeah. The hotel we stay at, they're so cute. It has little patios for every room, has like its own patio, and they have really good Mexican food at the hotel. So we're always excited to stay there. The last time we stayed there, we went to Saguaro, which is this monument outside of Tucson where all the cacti are. And what's fascinating is there's Native American petroglyphs from the Bronze Age, right? So thousands of years old when the Native Americans who originally dwelled in the place, and it's wheels and figures all drawn on the rocks. And it's just sensational to see, to get away from the rednecks a little bit and see what the people who lived there first, who were cultivating the area and building the pueblos and whatnot, how magnificent it is just to see a small piece of their culture and their artwork and their religion. So those are the kind of, and we went to the volcano. There's a volcano there.
Oh,
there's a mountain range just outside of, I'm thinking of Flagstaff. There's a mountain range outside of Flagstaff. That was a different trip. But Tucson, we did go to Saguaro. So.
A different volcano.
Right? There's always a different volcano.
Always. Too many. Well, in Florida, we have like mountains made out of trash. So like.
Yeah, you do.
Gorge.
And you have Stuckey's. There used to be a chain called Stuckey's that sold pecan logs in Florida. And then the Big Daddy Don Garlett's Museum of Drag Racing, as I recall, is in Ocala.
Oh, Ocala? That sounds...
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. We're playing Clearwater Jacks and Orlando. I don't know if we're going to Miami. And maybe Fort Lauderdale as well.
Yeah, it's Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. At the Parker Playhouse. But my favorite thing is that you guys are performing in Clearwater at the same place where I saw Alice Cooper last perform live. So
really? Yes. I love Alice Cooper.
Okay, start. I know. It's like first Rocky Horror, now Alice Cooper. I can't.
Right?
Well, we got no toys. So speaking of going back on tour, what are you most looking forward to about being back on the road?
Playing live and the audiences. We have so much fun, and we really hit the stage running, and we're trying to bring as much energy as we can. So if we don't get an encore, like we want to know the reason why, we're always ready to run back out and do an encore. And I think that's the best part for me is the energy of being in front of the live crowd, because Whose Line fans are so lovely, and because Ryan is there. There's a lot of excitement. People are really involved. So it's up to us to make it good. You know what I mean? Like, so we sing, and I get to sing on the road, which I really love. I'm not really a professional singer, but I've sung professionally for years. So I'm kind of lucky that way. And so like, if we get funk or soul or something like that, I just love it. You know, I'll get out there and dance and act like an idiot. And, and then of course, just watching the other guys, we laugh at each other. We still find each other funny, which is, you know, it's been a long time. We've been on the road a long time. So that's kind of a remarkable achievement in itself. And that we can all still walk.
Oh,
I mean,
that none of us are morbidly obese. You know, we have
good.
a lot of things going for us.
Yeah. Heck
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. The last time we played Jack's, I hope I'm not out of school, was a really, I think it's the same theater we're playing in Jack's. And it's, which is, by the way, people don't know this about Jacksonville. It's an enormous city. It's like one of the, it's
the biggest
gigantic.
city in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bigger than Miami. It's like one of the biggest
Crazy.
cities in the United, it's probably in the top 10 in the United States of how big it is. Like, it's
crazy.
a giant place.
Yeah.
So we're playing this really cool old time theater, and all the theaters from the 20s have stage doors that open right onto the street. Like, you know, all the purpose-built modern places you go now, there's a giant corridor and there's a thing and there's a room and there's a thing and a conference room and carpet and whatever. The old theaters, there's like a door that goes clunk like that and boom, you're there, right? Like you're outside, because that's how they loaded everything in the old days. So that theater is where we played in Jack's. So I went outside to refresh myself, and I was standing there refreshing, and a rap video broke out around me. And I was dressed like this, right? I was in my show clothes. So I've got makeup on and hair, and I got my suit on and my clip, and I'm standing there smoking a bone. And all of a sudden a dude comes up and it's just free, you know, and he's laying it down. He sits next to me. I'm standing on stairs like this, and I'm paralyzed. And he sits next to me and keeps on rapping. Up comes the camera person and the lighting person and a producer behind him, and they're shooting. And then they pan across, and he goes this way and he goes over here for a while, and then they go back and they go that way. And I said, excuse me, I wasn't in the way on that, was I, or anything? And they're like, no, you're fine. So I'm in a video somewhere. I don't know who it was. I said, I look like their manager, right? I'm the guy in the suit standing there going like this, and all of a sudden, so I thought I came back in and I'm like, I was just in a rap video, you guys. And they're like, what? I'm like, don't. Because I swear to you, he sat here and then got up and walked in front of me. And I stood there just, you know, okay, right?
I mean,
I'm in this, let's do it, you know?
Yeah, rap videos just break out, you know?
Right. Fortunately, I was in hair and makeup, so you know what I mean. It would have been worse if I'd been like in a, you know, a Yosemite Sam wife beater.
What a visual! Oh my
Right.
goodness.
Instead, I was dressed like this, so I looked like something at least.
I really want to see this video.
yeah.
Right.
I really wanna
I
know
do
that
too.
more.
Down.
My huge mistake was I let them run away back down the alley. By the way, the reason why they were using this alley behind the theater was that it was absolutely wall-to-wall painted with graffiti, right? Like it was beautiful. It was this extraordinary street of street art, like in Jacksonville, a street that was clearly dedicated to street art because it wasn't a mess. It was, you know, like time, and people had put stuff everywhere, and it was wild, colorful, like your set. It was purple and, you know, pink and blue and all that. So that's why they were using the drop, I think, because it looked so boss. And so, yeah, sometimes things happen that you're like, this is cool.
It's a moment. It's a moment. You're now like forever like ingrained in rap history. Congratulations. That's
Right. Thank you.
brilliant.
And I'm in it. I can say that I legitimately was in a rap video in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mhm.
The problem was I wasn't able to get down the street fast enough to ask them the name of the act and when it was coming out and get a card or anything like that, because they were hit and run.
Man, we'll never
Yeah,
know.
I mean, you lived the dream. You accidentally were in a rap video. It's everyone's dream.
Well,
It was great.
Jude actually had a question, and I feel like this one's kind of important to ask. But a few days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, you actually posted a picture with the legendary Robin Williams. So do you have any stories that stand out from performing with him?
I do. I was really fortunate that I'm from San Francisco, or as we call it, because we're so parochial, the city. And Robin is from the city, right? And the truth is I'm from San Carlos, which is just south of the city. And Robin's from Marin, north of the city. But everybody moves to the city. And so I knew him for years. And I got to play with him a bunch of times. And one time, me and my partner, Mike McShane, who was on the old Whose Line Is It Anyway? He's the big cat with the beard from the British version. Yeah. Me and him go back a long time. And we were doing a double act at the Other Cafe in San Francisco, which was a little hippie comedy club, right? With carpet. And it was like the first place to go non-smoking, I think, before places were non-smoking. Mind you, the whole staff was dealing drugs. So this is the 80s, you know, and we were doing our little two-hander comedy show, and it was late night, like the 11 o'clock show on a Friday or something. And Robin showed up, and he was standing in the back, and I went over to him and I go, "You want to get up?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, oh Mr. Proops." He called me Mr. Proops, which it makes my heart burst. It really does. I'm so sad about it still. I can't even. But anyway, he went, "Oh, Mr. Proops." And so he got up on stage with us, and we did a Shakespeare, and I called him Doodless or something in the Shakespeare. And I remember he stopped and went like that. And so I had many good experiences with him, but I improvised with him a bunch of times. And here's one that you'll appreciate. When you would improvise with him, he was agile, right? As well as being the fastest and funniest improviser in the world, next to Jonathan Winters, who I think he would say too. And I saw him and Jonathan improvise too, which was just extraordinary.
Oh man.
He was physically wildly strong, Robin, and I built much along the lines of a wrestler. And he was quite hairy, and he would grab you, which he's did to me several times on stage in my life, and get you in like a headlock on stage, so you can't do anything. And he was super sweaty and hairy, so your face would be like squashed up against him, right? And he'd go, "Oh," and then there's that Gaddafi duck, you know, and like you're in the middle of this, and there's nothing you could do. You were helpless in his grip. And on top of that, to be honest, he was a beautiful man. The picture that your friend here is talking about was taken at a talk show I did with him at Sketchfest in San Francisco, 10 years ago. And so it was Linda Cardellini, right? Who you know from Freaks and Geeks, and what's her? She has a show now with Christina Applegate. Whatever.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
She's a longtime television star. She's in all the Scooby-Doo movies and blah blah blah.
That's right.
And she's from Redwood City, which is right next to San Carlos, where I'm from. That's the peninsula. And so it was a real Bay Area show. And Michael Penn, Sean Penn's brother, the singer, right, who's married to Amy Mann, and that was the show. So first, Linda and me, I talked to Linda. I did a stand-up. Then I talked to Linda. Then we brought Michael on. Now Michael's on doing a song. And I said to Robin, "Let's go. It's time," right? So he goes, "Mm." And I go, "I'm not going to introduce you, man, because we're in San Francisco. What do you say we just bum rush the stage?" And he goes, "Oh, okay, Mr. Proops." And so Michael finished, and we just bowled on together. And then he started going crazy. And I just laughed for like an hour and 45 minutes. So the picture is me hysterically laughing, and he's holding a pillow at this point going, And I found the best part with him was you just fed him something, and then he would go off for a year and make everybody cry. It was at Yoshi's Jazz Club in the Fillmore, which isn't there anymore, a real intimate place, and an unforgettable night of comedy. He had just done Conan the night before. He had a beard. I can't remember what picture he was doing, but that was when he had a beard that year.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for sharing those memories with us.
Sure.
I've only heard such wonderful things about him as a person, as a human. So
he was okay, for instance, I was at another Sketchfest, and we were at a museum in Golden Gate Park, the Natural History Museum, which is full of stuffed zebras and stuff. It's really old fashioned, you know. And there was a crappy room with all these plants in it, and they put a stand-up stage at one end. And another comedian named Rick Overton, who you'll know from 1,000 TV shows and movies, was also on this bill with me. And Robin showed up, and my wife was there. And my wife knew Robin from when she worked in the Castro district in San Francisco, because Robin lived there. And he hugged her, and then he sat down and they watched my set. And then I came up to him and I was like, hey. And so he was just that kind of person. Like, he actually sat with my wife and watched me work. And then I went over to him, we chatted and whatnot and riffed. And, you know, he was just a sweet guy. You know, he was a fixture, like in San Francisco. That was the thing. He wasn't a recluse. When he wasn't working on a movie or something, he was always to be found at clubs or backstage somewhere. And I remember opening for him and Bob Goldthwait in the late 80s when they were called Jack Cheese and Marty from Mars. They did an anonymous show. They didn't call themselves Robin and Bobcat. And it was at Cobb's Comedy Club down the wharf that used to be there. And they asked me to do it. And so I got to open for them. And, you know, I watched the show. They're just like really, and Bob and him were really, really good friends. He did a couple movies with him, and Overton and him were good friends too. Overton's a superb improviser. So yeah, we got really lucky to know him, you know. It's a terrible tragedy, but on the other hand, we have all of his work.
He lives on through all of, exactly.
And if you can imagine what he's like when you watch him in a picture on a TV show, imagine being in his clutches.
I just love that idea of being squished underneath his armpit.
I know. And I want to
your face in the hairy sweat.
Then he could have been in the WWF. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh no, he was enormously strong and agile. Yeah, like a great physical comedian.
Well, Danica, do you want to ask one more question and then we'll go to the game?
Oh, sure. I'll do one more and then you do one more. Cool.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. This is kind of a weird one, but would you ever agree to be on a Comedy Central roast? And if so, who would you either want to roast or be roasted by?
I see. Well, they roasted Drew Carey years ago, and I think Ryan did that one. He would be someone I would roast. It's not my favorite format. It's a little male for me. It's a lot of dick measuring, and the jokes are pretty scatological. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? I'm not above it. I'm just saying. So to answer your question, let's see. Probably, I think Doug Benson. I would. Because the thing about Doug is there's nothing to roast, you know what I mean? Other than his proclivity for marijuana use. Like,
right.
He's not a bad guy. He doesn't have any quirks, you know?
He's so nice.
And he's so nice. That one might be funny. Drew, of course, there's everything to make fun of. And then I would love the other Who's Line people to roast me, you know? Colin and Brad and Wayne and Jeff and Ryan. I think they'd all have something to say. Mind you, we roast each other on the road constantly. So
awesome. Okay, well, I see a question here from the crowd.
Oh, good. Let's have an audience question.
Okay, from the audience. So it's Sasha, but via Violet. They want to know what it was like doing your very first episode of Who's Line.
It was great. I went to England by myself. My wife and I weren't even married then. This was the 40s. And I got an offer to go to England for 2 weeks, and we were just going to shoot one show. So they put us up at this fancy hotel, and then I had to go into the studio, and my first episode was with a cat named John Sessions. And John passed away last year during the plague, and was the original star of the English Who's Line before Mike. First, it was John, like the first couple of years, then Mike, and then Ryan, and then, you know, we came to the States and all that. So that's sort of the progression of how it went with, like, you know, the show. And John was dead quick, right? And he could do loads of impressions. and a lovely man. So my first show was with Josie Lawrence, who's still one of our best friends.
Love
we stay with her when we go to London. Mike McShane, who's one of my friends, and then John and me. So I had gone to Haight Street to this vintage store called, I can't remember the name of it. It was right on Haight. And I bought this oatmeal colored vintage suit from like the 50s, right? And I had a gold pocket square and this gold vintage tie. This is 1989. And my big brown glasses, right? So we're getting dressed and we're in the makeup room and I've got my thing on and I'm getting my makeup on. And John is sitting next to me. And I go, John, and we're all smoking, right? This is the 80s, right? And I had 2 or 3 pairs of glasses. So I put up one and I go, John, what do you think? And I just met him, right? You know what I mean? We've just done the run through, I've just met him. I don't know him. He was already a big star. He'd already done stage and whatnot. He went on to have major stage and movie success, John Sessions. And he did a show called Stella Street, speaking of impressions, where the premise of the show was everyone famous lived on this shitty little street in London. So you go down to the corner shop and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are the people who run the shop. So you would come out and be Keith and be like, Mick, we need more toilet roll, right? Like that was the premise of the show, which was hilarious. So everywhere you went, like it was Michael Caine was there, you know. So it was called Stella Street. Anyway, this is way before that. I turned to John and I go, John, which glasses should I wear, right? And I had 2 different pair. And he goes, oh, Greg, those are so ornithological convention in Omaha.
God, that's horribly specific.
Yeah.
And I said, could you be more specific with that? And so I wore the other pair. So the first pair I wore on the show were these big brown horn rims that I had that I think I got down here in LA at a thrift store on Melrose. We were on a budget, you know. And so that was my first show. It was great.
That's awesome. And I went back recently, now on Amazon Prime, they have a couple of the seasons from the UK. So
really?
My husband and I, we binge watched right through those. I mean, and you know what? They still hold up. It just, a couple mentions of Princess Diana here and there, but it's as if you're watching it now. It's so good. Oh my gosh.
I used to do John Major on the show to give you an idea of how long ago it was.
Oh my goodness.
All you had to do for John Major was 1, he wore glasses, but 2,
John Major spoke like this.
So all you had to do is for an impression of John Major, the PM of England, was go,
I'm here to sell you some sweets.
Or whatever the joke was. But as soon as you did that voice, everybody knew that you were doing the Prime Minister of England.
Oh my God.
So I was there when Margaret Thatcher had to stand down. And then Major was there for 8 years, right? He did a long term. Thatcher was there for 13 years. So
just a minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a couple of dated things. And also they mentioned Twiglets and stuff like that. And Torval and Dean, like stars from then, the Clangers, all these things that I was completely underwater, I would be like, oh, right, the Clangers, yeah.
Yeah, of course, clang, clang.
My favorite
band? Yes, sure. Thing. Well, so we have a game that we're going to play. This is a game of Would You Rather. Obviously, there's no wrong answers. So, Danica, do you want to ask the first one?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather wear Ed Hardy shirts for every show or always have to dress like one of your Nightmare Before Christmas characters on stage?
Oh, I'd rather always dress like my Nightmare Before Christmas characters on stage.
Do you have a favorite look of the 3?
The devil. We're doing it live here at the Bank Park downtown Los Angeles with Danny Elfman and a full orchestra. We do it live to film. We've done it for years. And we're doing it this year, October 29th. If you go to my website, or I don't know if it's on my website. Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas Live. We used to do it at the Hollywood Bowl. We're moving to the football stadium or the soccer stadium where the soccer team plays down near USC this year. The year before the plague, we did it in London at Wembley Arena, the O3 Center in Dublin, and the Hydro in Glasgow. And then we also did it at this fabulous concert hall, Exhibition Hall #1 in Tokyo in May. So we did a lot on the road in 2019, full orchestra, and they show the movie, and I'm right next to the conductor, and I wear a fez. I've got a fez. Bridget Fonda gave it me. this fez, and she did the costumes, and so I'm right next to the conductor, and so when it's my cue, he goes like this, and I can't miss it because I'm standing under him. So
You're right
but
there.
the devil is I'm doing a British actor from the 60s named George Saunders, who was in the original cartoon of the Jungle Book, and he's Shere Khan the tiger.
Oh yes.
The 60s
Yeah.
one. So George Saunders talks like this. Ah, yes, Kid Cadet and Miss D. I
Oh,
must continue to help you. Right. So when they said go, Henry said go. You're going to be the devil. Henry, the director, Henry Selick said you're going to be the devil. Come back tomorrow and have a devil voice or whatever. So I came home and I said to my wife, I haven't the slightest notion. I didn't want to do the devil voice like Tim Curry in Legend, the one is like this, And I didn't want to do Mercedes McCambridge from The Exorcist or whatever. And so I thought to myself, Shere Khan the tiger, right? And so the devil is, it all begins with a pox. A pox? How delightful a pox.
oh, I love that. Oh my God.
Oh,
And
man.
now when I inevitably watch this movie, for the umpteenth time this year, that's what's going to be in my head now.
And I'll give you another one. The saxophone player in the middle there, Henry said to me, do the sax player, right? So always when he throws the coin in the dish and I go, nice work, Bone. But then there's another line when the mayor comes. I'm frozen.
You're
I'm
frozen.
There we go. I'm not now. When the mayor comes to see Jack after Halloween in the second scene, and the musicians are sitting in front of Jack's house, right? And he's been hiding or whatever. And the mayor goes, well, where's Jack or whatever? And I'm the sax player. And I go,
He's been up there all night.
and that's because I asked Henry, let me do Lawrence Welk, who was this band leader from the big band.
Yes, of course.
Right, exactly. Lawrence Welk went like that. And
Wonderful. And now it's time to hear Miss D and the kick of that with some lovely thong.
right, that's how he talked. So I said, let me do Lawrence Welk. And I went,
Nice work, Bone Daddy.
and he was like, he laughed and he was like, I can't let you do that. So years later, now we're doing the show live to film, right, with Danny and Catherine O'Hara and Ken Page's Oogie Boogie. And
Love
when we
that.
do it in LA, sometimes Paul Rubens comes and does Shock, right?
Yeah, Chuck. Yeah.
Shock. So
yeah.
it's really cool. Years later, I'm watching the movie with all the other singers, right? Because we sit on stage and watch the movie with you, except we're watching it on monitors. And I caught,
He's been up there all night.
and I thought, Henry let me do it. And I forgot because it was so long ago that he let me do the Swedish, because my voice is different in the two. I go, nice work, Bone Daddy. When he has Halloween. And then when they come up to watch for it, when he's the mayor, where's Jack? Glenn Haddock says, and I go,
He's been up there all night.
Didn't even catch it. Oh, that's good.
Ooh,
no,
scandalous.
right? So that's a goodie. And then the Harlequin was also really fun. Danny gave me that part and said, because I get to sing in part in Making Christmas.
Amazing.
Won't they be impressed? I am a genius. And I thought of saying genius.
Living.
Because they gave me the line, and it's, won't they be impressed? I am a genius. And I went, won't they be impressed? I am a genius. See how I transformed this old rat into a most delightful rat.
Oh, this is so good.
It's so much fun, I can't tell you. And to get to sing it live on stage and all that. And then we get to do all the voices, I am the one hiding under the stairs. Things like snakes and spiders in my hair and all that jazz.
I'm
Yeah.
the one running under your bed. Okay, here's the next Would You Rather. Okay.
It's glowing red.
I am the one with the tearaway. Okay,
Here in a flash. Gone with their face.
all right. Would you rather go back in time and have
Right?
a
We can
drink
do all
with-
these movies. We can do Rocky
Yeah,
Horror
we could just
and
keep going.
right?
We just don't want to keep you all night. Would you rather go back in time and have a drink with Laurel and Hardy, or go back in time and have a drink with the Three Stooges?
That's an interesting question, and a tough one. Initially, I'd say Laurel and Hardy. but I was my grandfather. Purportedly, the Howards lived behind them. They are from Bay Parkway in Brooklyn, and the Howard family lived, I think, either behind or down the street. So he actually knew the Three Stooges. My uncle Bill came to see a show years ago in Seattle or somewhere, and my father's brother, and he goes to me, Gregory, I've only been backstage one other time. And I said, what was that? And he went, to see the Three Stooges with your grandfather. And I was like, so I believe he really did know them if he took my Uncle Bill to see the Stooges. He didn't know, I don't know if he knew Larry. I guess everybody knew Larry. Larry lived nearby, but Curly and Mo and Shemp were all brothers. Yeah. So I kind of think I might do that just to see if they knew Everett.
Just to check.
I mean, we're talking about they were kids together. You know what I mean? That's how old my grandma.
Yeah. All right, Danica.
Would you rather challenge Clive Anderson to a celebrity boxing match or challenge Drew Carey to a celebrity boxing match?
No, I've been hitting the head with a Ponzi stick by Drew at an army base in Kaiserslautern, Germany, in 2006, and he blindsided me, and I've never really forgotten it. Clive, I think I could take because I think I've got a little reach on him. He's shorter than me, and he's gained a few pounds, and I think I could land 2 or 3 before he did any damage.
I always loved your banter with Clive. It was one of my favorite things about that UK version.
Yeah, righty ho, Mr. A. Righty ho, Mr. P. Righty ho. He's such a planet. He really is.
Yeah.
He's a complete bark.
Well, I was trying to like kind of is he still doing like comedy or is he still in the biz?
When did he do comedy is a better question, kid. I mean, you know, whatever. He started in the 70s at the Cambridge Footlights, and then he piddled it away to nothing. No, he had a lot of talk shows in England. The last time I worked with him was in 2019. We went to Edinburgh Festival, and me and McShane and Frosty, and then a bunch of, Joe's didn't do that one, but a bunch of British comics, or Richard Vraunch, you know Richard Vraunch.
Oh, yeah.
At the piano. And British comics you might know, Phil Jupitus, Marcus Brigstock, whatnot. We all did Whose Line for Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and Clive hosted with the buzzer and everything. So that was great fun, and that was the last time I saw him. And just madness, you know. We were doing like the Proclaimers in Scotland, and the place was just going bananas.
I can't even imagine. Somebody said that he has a weekly show on BBC Radio 2. Thank you. For the
that wouldn't
information.
surprise me. He's really at the Radio 2 part now, and you know, he's quite a good host. He's very intelligent and canny and all that. I do make fun of him though, because his comedy, wow. You know, you've been doing it this long and you're only that good.
Shots
Right?
fired, man.
Right?
Right.
You should be funnier than that.
God. Oh my God. All right, well, let's move along.
I mean, for the public's sake, at least, you know. Think of the audience.
Before this officially becomes the roast of Clive Anderson. All right, all right, here we go. Next one. Would you rather, listen to Dr. Demento and repeat for 24 hours or listen to Muffin Man by Frank Zappa for 24 hours?
How did you know? Why did you pick Muffin Man? That's intriguing to me.
It's just a song that forever lives in a certain part of my brain.
Wow. Because it's the one I'm really from. I don't know why, but what is it? He brushes the crumbs off his scapula and addresses us. I, for one, what is it? The muffin is the superior. I can't remember. God's great earth.
Sure. I mean, Frank Zappa.
One of the ones I don't know.
Oh, God,
Girl,
Muffin
you
Man's
thought he was a man, but he was a muffin. His cries would stir in the night as a result of him stuffing.
I don't know if I could hear that one over and over again.
Okay.
I think Dr. Demento, because I grew up on Dr. Demento. When Weird Al just played an accordion in the bathroom at San Luis Obispo and did another one, Rides the Bus and all that, I go back.
Love it.
Fish Heads with Barnes and Barnes and all that. So yeah, I love Dr. Demento. I feel, the world got too underground, right? Like now with the interweb, we're all niche, but Dr. Demento performed an important function, and FM radio once a week would stop and he'd play these weird records from the 20s, 30s, every decade. And it broadened one's horizons.
That it did.
Hello, dimensions and dementites. What was he? Yeah.
Love it.
Here's
All
one,
right.
and they fish heads, roly poly fish. Or what was their other great hit? These newts were made for crawling, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these newts are going to crawl all over you. Are you ready, newts? Start crawling.
Love. I love that you snort too. I snort all. All right.
I totally snort.
I
totally
do
snort.
too. Do you mind if we have a couple more of these? We don't want to keep you too much longer, but could we ask a few more?
Sure.
Okay, Danica, go ahead.
Let's do it. Okay. Would you rather have to do a hoedown based on an event
Ugh.
every day, or have to do an entire set talking like Yoda?
I'd rather do an entire set talking like Yoda. What's hilarious about the hoedown is we all hated the hoedown, and we still do. Is that Neil? I'm trying to look at who the other performer there is with us. That's Colin and Ryan. I think that's Neil Ashdown,
Okay.
the other
It's not big enough.
improviser
Yeah.
there.
I can tell.
Very funny guy and a great singer. Yeah, we hate the hoedown. And what's hilarious is when we're on the road, every once in a while, someone will yell hoedown at the end of the show, and Ryan will go, "I got your hoedown right here."
Yeah, I like
It's
that.
not a bit that it's the producer came up with it, and Dan and Mark, and they've made us do it for 100 years. And so we're doing it in London. A couple years ago, we played live in London off and on the last 5-6 years at Christmas time. And once was in the summer, we were doing it at the Palladium, which is a big, fancy, old-time, vaudeville, fancy, famous place in London. Which, by the way, is next to a Five Guys now. They put a Five Guys next to it. So
Perfect. Classic.
yeah, perfect for
Yeah.
me because I could finish the show and then go get a cheeseburger and whatever,
Well.
and listen to Leonard Skinner because who doesn't want to, right? And yeah. So we did one on Dan hosted one night because Clive had to do another gig or something. Clive had to do a corporate gig in Switzerland. I'm not kidding. So Dan, the producer, hosted, which is a very poor idea. And because Dan can't, he's the producer. And let me put it, not a comedian. So
we're picking it up.
and
We're picking it up.
he watches the show with a critical eye, like a producer would. So that one was really funny. Keep that, put it here, right? That's how he thinks. Whereas when you're a performer, you're just trying to keep the show going and keep the audience right here, right? So we do this hoedown, and Dan comes out and goes, "That wasn't very good. You need to do it again," right? This is live, right? Like at the TV studio, fine, because we can just stop tape and start, and it's a TV show. This was in front of and everyone in the audience is like, "What?" So we bloody did it again. We did it bloody one more time, and but that one really made me laugh. That wasn't very good. And then Josie takes him backstage and goes, Dan, you really oughtn't say that in front of the audience. And
True.
he's like, "Why?" And she goes, "Because they haven't any notion of who you are."
Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to do 2 more of these. So let's see what we got coming up. Okay.
Okay.
Would you rather have to eat blood pudding every day or have to eat a Chicago style hot dog every day?
Chicago style hot dog every day. Blood pudding is an acquired taste. One has it, one tries it. Once is philosophy, as Voltaire said. Not my favorite, the Chicago dog, I'll be honest. I'm more of a California dog person, which to me is relish, light onions, mustard. I think the pepper and the that weird relish they use and the tomatoes and everything, it gets a little It gets a little over the top with Chicago, but I'd eat one, you know,
Okay.
especially if you could have duck fat fries with it.
Yes. So good.
Eclectic, but okay.
Yum.
All
Right?
right.
There's a famous, I've never been, but there's a famous place in Chicago where they do dogs, but the whole show, evidently, that people line up for is the duck fat fries, which you die for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to try on
Yes.
your word,
Yeah.
on your recommendation.
Right?
All
Right?
All right,
They're crispy on
Danica.
the outside. They're delicate on the inside. They have
And
that,
the
you know,
flavor.
there's a slightly tangy flavor to
kiss.
them.
Duck fat fries. I'm gonna be Googling
Yeah.
this after because now I was thinking
Yeah,
about
you will.
cake and now duck fat fries.
Right.
Just put them
I love
together.
that.
It's cake with the fries on top.
Mwah.
Yeah, chef's kiss.
All right, Danica, you want to do one more?
Yes. All right. So, oh God, would you rather have your daily driver be a pod racer made by Tesla, or have Jeff Bezos is stranded in space and creates a new Death Star?
Whoa. By the way, I want to compliment. Yeah. Oh no, my phone. By the way, now you know something about me that you oughtn't know. But my phone ring is Hollywood swinging.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, my ringer on my phone is Hollywood swinging.
I like it.
You just caught that. I love the graphic with Jeff Bezos and Star Player because that's really who he is. I'm not very fond of Elon Musk either, so I'm in a Kobayashi Maru this one and say neither because of a pre-existing condition.
Okay.
Oh
All
my.
right. Fair enough. Well, as you can
Oh
see
my.
on the graphic, we also have the graphic for the smartest man in the
Yes.
world, Proopcast, which you can check out on Spotify and or wherever podcasts are available. More information, visit gregproops.com. And I saw you also have an upcoming show, and I love saying this name, with Ben Glebe, which is just like such a fun name to say.
Glebe.
Glebe. So, and you got the glasses photo.
Yeah,
So,
there's the one.
Perfect.
And I believe that's on Saturday.
Thank you. Yes, it's at 5:00 on Saturday, day after tomorrow. We improvise an hour and a half of goofiness, and it's good fun. Yeah, he said, "What should we call the show?" Like a year ago, we started doing it online, and I was like, "It's a G thing."
Ain't nothing but a G,
Hardcore.
baby. Awesome.
I was going to
Well-
say, Death Row is the show they made me. Murder
You
is
are
the
a
case they
rapper.
gave me, right?
It is. I mean, it's obvious.
And also make sure to check out Cameo and The Smartest Book in the World. And before we wrap this up, any final thoughts for this afternoon, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are?
What a pleasure talking to you guys. I could, if you want to do it again, let's just dedicate a whole one to Rocky Horror and The Nightmare Before Christmas and
Yes!
really get crazy because, you
Got
know,
it.
right? It was
You're
so
on.
much fun talking about it. It's two of my favorite things. And it's so exciting to talk to people who really love that.
And we're going to hold you to that because this is being
Big time.
recorded. So we have you saying that. So now we can use it
Right?
against
You
you.
can actually
to try to-
produce that.
let's do it. But in the meantime, we're going to promote our upcoming shows that we do already have on the books. So next Tuesday, we have the Man Scout Jenk Manning. He is a wrestler, which is exciting. And then we have one of my favorite drag queens of all time, La Goncha Estranja. We have Alicia Taylor, who is a dancer from the Cherry Bombs. You have Karen Carnival from the X-Files and Planet of the Apes and so many things. Next month, also, we have Levi Cooper, another wrestler. And then hopefully we're going to have our Rocky Horror / Nightmare Before Christmas stream with you, Greg. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
This has been so much fun.
Hi, I'm sorry. I managed to mess up my headphones. What did you just say?
Just that we love you and thank you.
A lot of compliments. It was really good.
Well, I missed all
Yeah.
the compliments. I
So
can't
many.
believe it. I looked at my phone for a second and the AirPods went right to the phone. Thank you for whatever compliments you said. That's so sweet of you. And it was really a pleasure talking to you guys. You're so much fun.
Thank
It's
you. Well,
been
let's do
such
this
a
again.
huge honor
soon.
for us.
Yay.
I will.
All right.
And be safe where you guys are.
Likewise.
Same.
Have a great show this weekend, and we will see y'all real soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, babies.
Bye.